I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm always happy that you're here, but I just like to tell you because I want you to remember that I love you and I'm so glad you're here. Okay, anyway, today's guest is the one and only Dee Bushrod of Pixel Quilts. Okay, first of all, first time I met her was at QuiltCon 2024, and I saw her from a distance because she was wearing one of her magnificent dresses that she makes. And this one was made out of like, um, I don't know, some quilt blocks, like a quilt flimsy, and it was long and like high neck and sleeveless. And I was smitten immediately. You can ask my mom. She was like, yeah, we're in love with her. Anyway, so I saw her from afar, and then when we actually got to meet in person, I was like, yeah, we're friends. It's fine. So anyway, if you don't know anything about Dee, she has been creating pixelated like images of onto quilts. So she takes a photograph, like for example, the Queen of England, Billie Eilish, her heartthrob Post Malone, and pixelates a picture of their face, gets all the tones and highlights and shadows, and creates this image that is then turned into a quilt top. And then she's had some amazing quilting done on her quilts. And if you haven't seen any, go check them out while you listen. She's at Pixel Quilts on the Instagram. Anyway, I just love Dee so much, and I'm just so excited that we get to have this chat today. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to know her better. So let's just dive right in. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you on the Patreon yet? If not, when you join the paid side, you get the episodes ad-free. That's right. When you pay the $5 monthly fee, you get the episodes ad-free. So if you don't like listening to ads, it might be worth it to you. So hop on over to patreon.com/notyourgranny'squiltshow. Check it out. See if you want to hang out there. And yeah. Also, while you're at it, go check out the merchandise. That is at nygqs.printify.me to get your hands on a shirt, get your hands on a mug, um, a, a tote bag, I don't know, a sticker. There's some great things there that I've designed myself. And I'm telling you right now that I love everything in that shop or I wouldn't sell it. The tie-dyed sweatshirt is my go-to sweatshirt all the time. I've owned it ever since I released it out into the world a couple of years ago, and I won't go anywhere without it. I also am loving the um, Comfort Colors t-shirts that say progress over perfection on the back. Not only is that my most favorite style of t-shirt ever created, it's ring spun cotton, 100% cotton. The colors are incredible. The printing is incredible. I have two shirts and they're the best. So if you have not checked out the merch yet, go to nygqs.printify.me today. Hi, Dee. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to have you on the show today because I've been dying to get you on the show.
It's been a while. We were trying to do this like a year ago, and then everything just kind of went, how do I say it nicely?
Mm,
Got
you don't have to
really
say it nicely.
difficult. So it's taken me a year to kind of get back on my feet, but no, I'm so glad I finally get to speak to you.
Yeah, I know. And I was just like, I don't want to push you, but I was like, well, just stay in contact. Like, it's not like I was only talking to you because I wanted you on the show either. I think some people think that, like, oh, she's only talking to me because she wants me to be on a guest. I'm like, no, I seriously like you. Like, I promise.
Well, and I feel like we see each other now and again at like the big quilt shows and things,
Yeah.
but I don't get the opportunity, obviously, to talk to you very often. So of course I'm going to jump at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And um, I just like I'm gonna rewind and then we'll kind of get jumping in on your story, but the first time we met was at QuiltCon 24 in
Yeah,
Raleigh. And
yeah.
the first time I saw you was from a distance, and you were wearing one of your dresses that you've made because you make the most beautiful dresses. And it was like the super long, flowy one with the blue and white. Um,
Mhm.
is that an actual pieced like
Yeah,
quilt or
it's a queen size double wedding ring
okay,
quilt top that I actually bought. Somebody was selling that, and that was the first quilt dress I made because I was too scared to put all that time into, like, making my own quilt top and then it not turning out. So, yeah, that was my first, and luckily it was a success and has led
stunning.
to a ridiculous amount more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw you from afar wearing that dress and I was just like starstruck. My mom was there and I was like, Mom, mom. I was like slapping her arm. I'm like, look at her, look at her. She was like, oh my God. So I have a witness to prove that I really was being like, pick my jaw off the floor. I've always
Oh.
like even ever since I was a little girl, I've always just like been obsessed with like long flowy dresses.
Mhm.
So on top of that, and then you're just like so beautiful. And so I was just
Oh.
like obsessed. And then when we actually got to meet, I was like, oh, she's a good one. I'm so excited.
That was really funny, that show, because it was the first time I'd ever worn a quilt dress, and there was somebody who took a photograph of me when I wasn't looking. I was actually sat having a coffee in a
Mm,
coffee shop, and someone took a photograph because their shoes matched my dress and put it online, and
oh my
then somebody
gosh.
tagged me in it like, "Oh, that's Dee," and I looked at this photo and I was, like, horrified because, like, can you imagine you just sit there, like, drinking your
Yeah.
coffee and,
You're like, I wasn't
like,
even posing.
no. It's like hairs everywhere, double chin, you know?
Yeah. It's about
Thanks
the
for that.
dress.
Yeah, but
You're like, let's just put a heart over my face or something to block that out.
exactly, be nice.
Yeah, yeah, that's so funny. Well, before we get into your quilt dresses and your amazing pixel quilts, I just want to know how you even got into quilting in the first place.
Whew. Well, it's nearly 20 years ago I made my first quilt when my son was born
Mm,
because so I already had my daughter, she was 2 years old, and then Josh came along and I did his whole bedroom in a cowboy theme. Because if you're British and you live in Oklahoma and you give birth to an American, then and it's a boy, of course he's gonna have a cowboy themed bedroom. So I'd done his curtains and everything. I had an embroidery machine and everything had cowboys on it. And then it was only when we were kind of transitioning him to his crib, I realized, oh, he doesn't have anything to cover him. And
mm,
so I'd never really wanted to make a quilt, but I was like, well, for everything to kind of look nice and aesthetic, I need to make him something. And so I took bits out of every fabric I'd used in his room and just
mhm.
made my first really simple quilt.
Yeah.
And, um, I didn't like the process. I thought it was all a bit of a faff,
Mm,
really, but I did love the fact that you could take all of these different fabrics and kind of showcase them in one place. So that was my first quilt, but it wasn't like love at first quilt or anything like that.
mm,
It was just necessity more than anything.
yeah. Did you like finish? Did you quilt it on your machine? Did you hand tie it? Like, what
Well,
was the
because it was
process?
so tiny and I didn't really know anything about quilts at the time, I didn't realize you actually had to quilt it through the
Oh,
stem. I'd done no
yeah.
research. So basically, I just put put the fabrics together, put the back on top of it, and then sewed all around it and kind of turned it inside
Oh,
out. I don't
okay.
think there's probably not even batting in it. I haven't got it. I sold it along with his whole bedroom set.
Mm,
Um, so it like the concept of quilting didn't even enter into my head because I didn't know it was a thing.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, at the time it was really just, well, I think this is what you do. And then I didn't know about quarter of an inch seam allowance. So my seam allowances were too tiny and then the seams started to come apart. So
Mhm,
I remember being a bit frustrated with that and contacting a friend I'd made over here who was a quilter, an amazing quilter, and saying to her, do I have to use interfacing on all of these pieces to keep so that this doesn't happen? And she was like, no, you just have to
mm,
make sure your seam allowance is good. And so it was kind of like, you don't know what you don't know. So then I
mhm.
did my research and I was like, oh, okay. And then the second quilt I made was a quilt for my daughter as she was transitioning into her big girl bed.
Mm,
And so that was I had a little bit more of a clue what I was doing then. But
yeah,
yeah.
a little more information. Yeah, it's crazy how like how just one little bit of information can completely change your quilting. And that I felt the same way because I grew up with a mom who sewed and didn't really quilt, but she has been sewing basically her whole life. And so my whole life I've been around it and seen it. And so I think when I started quilting, I was already in my 30s and
Mhm.
I hadn't really been around my sewing machine myself very much because I was so scared of it. And then so I think people just kind of assumed I knew more than I knew, and I maybe came across like I knew more than I knew, but I didn't know anything. And so then when I
Mhm.
was learning things, learning those hard lessons, like you actually do need a quarter-inch seam allowance
Mhm.
because many of my first quilts are popping apart at the
Mhm.
seams where I thought, I can fudge it. I just don't want to lose, I didn't want to lose any of the print in the fabric when I was sewing it
Exactly.
together. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I want to see the whole thing, but now I'm like, you're a ding dong. Anyway, so you made your daughter's quilt and then did you continue to want to try it or was it a longer time before you made your next quilt?
I mean, I liked the outcome of the process. I liked seeing the quilt when it was done. I didn't love the process. And actually the third quilt I ever made was you know what it's like when you have tiny children, especially like when you've got a toddler and there's no going out to dinner. Like
No.
that is like the witching hour. You are not going to go out to dinner. If you're going to go out to dinner, then you can pretty much be assured that the entire time one of you is going to be holding or walking or whatever.
Mhm.
So what me and my husband used to do is every Saturday we used to go out for breakfast. And it
Mm.
could be that and we'd always go to the same place and it was this little dingy breakfast place that literally for years we went there. And sometimes we'd show up at 6:30 in the morning because everyone was awake by
Mm.
5:30. And so we got to know all of the staff and we got to know the managers because we were there every week. And we always had a server called Paulette, a little lady called Paulette, we would always be in her area. And so we'd see this lady every week. And then all of a sudden, for a few weeks, we didn't see her. And
Mm.
so eventually I kind of asked one of the other servers, well, where's Paulette? And he said, oh, she's going through breast cancer treatment. She's not well at the moment.
Oh,
And so that was the first time I thought, I want to make a quilt as a gift. I think it would bring comfort to give something like this as a gift. So this
yeah.
was my first quilt I ever went into a quilt shop and bought the pattern and then shopped for all the fabrics in there. And I will say it was a shock at how expensive it was when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Um, but it was also it made it even more special because everything was picked with her in mind. And so I
Mhm.
tackled that quilt and it was probably, I don't know, probably like a 60 by 70 lap size quilt. And
Mhm.
then I'd realized that I did need to quilt it in order to sandwich everything together. And so I did some really basic kind of quilting on it. And that I gave that to her while she was going through her breast cancer treatments.
Oh,
So it's always like the outcome at that point that I wanted a gift that was special, and so I made a quilt, but
yeah.
the process was the part that was like, I just have to get through because I don't love it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the
It's
outcome was always worth it, which is why I just carried on.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of that way. I don't always love the process, but
Mhm.
I want that goddamn quilt, so I'm gonna make it
Yeah.
anyway, kind of thing. Um, and so I totally get that, but it's crazy how like once you start there, you're like, well, I know I can make that, so I might as well just make it.
Yeah.
But also that gift giving, I think, is so special. And like we always my friends and I always talk about how we win at baby showers because we're always bringing a quilt for the new baby and everybody's like drops everything and they're like, "Oh my God, you made this." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Yeah. Just whipped it up.
Just, whatever. But um it's just so special. And I'm sure Paulette just thought the world of you for that because especially in the service industry, like you see people, you see your customers all the time, but you don't know if they think about you when they leave your presence, or they don't need something, they don't need a refill on their coffee, you know?
Mhm.
And so for somebody to do that, I'm sure she was just over the moon.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think when you live far away from home, we're like 4,000 miles from home,
Yeah.
and raising these 2 tiny babies on our own, these people that come into your life every week, even though it may just be a server to other people, they were a part of our weekly, like, life. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I guess that was probably a big factor as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. So, when did you, because I know you've bopped back and forth a few times or a couple times at least, but when did you guys move to, has it always been Oklahoma where you've been
Well,
based in the US?
so Maddie was born in 2004. In 2005, Jason got the opportunity to come and work over here. I was working full time as well, so it was kind of an opportunity for me to take a career break and be a
Mhm.
full time mum to Maddie, and it was meant to be for a year.
Mhm.
So when we agreed to come over, we were supposed to be in Seattle
Mhm.
because my husband's in aviation and that's where Boeing are.
Mhm.
And he also has family in Seattle. So it was kind of
Oh,
like it was a jump, but it was kind of an easier jump because there was family here. And I,
yeah.
I feel like the climate of Seattle is quite similar to England. So
Mhm.
that was what we agreed to. And then we moved over, and within 6 weeks, the company said, "We need you in Tulsa." And because Oklahoma is another massive aviation hub.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
so we were kind of like, "Well, where's Tulsa?" We really
You're
hadn't.
like, "What?"
Where are we going? We knew
Yeah.
Seattle. And so we had 6 weeks in Seattle, and then we moved to Tulsa, and we were in Tulsa for 9 years until 2014.
Wow.
And then in 2014, my husband was offered a promotion back in Europe. And so we moved back home for 6 years and then came back to Tulsa during the pandemic, which was
Oh,
an experience. So yeah, I guess like over the last 20 years, we've probably been here nearly 15, but we did have nearly 6 at home as well. So
okay. Okay.
mhm.
It's a lot of big moves with
Yeah.
kids and
Yeah. Well, moving over, Maddie was like 15 months old. And then when we moved back, obviously, I think she was about 11 and Josh was about, I'm probably getting this wrong. Josh was about 9,
mm,
maybe a little bit younger. What was funny about Seattle is that there was various things I loved about Seattle, and one was that they've got all of these outlet malls.
mhm.
So I could go shopping because I'm cheap, and so I could go shopping and get these clothes for Maddie that were really cute, but they were really cheap. And
Yeah.
so when they told me like we have to go to Tulsa, I was like, oh. And we got off the plane in Tulsa, and we were going to get a car rental. I remember saying to the lady at the car rental place, "Hey, have you got any outlet malls here?" And she went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we've got one." No, got blown away by a tornado. And that was the first time I kind of went, "Where are we? Like, what what's going on?"
You're like, "Do I actually wanna be here?"
Yeah, where exactly have we moved to?
My gosh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but
Wild.
we found out that pretty quick that the weather is just, well, we're in Tornado Alley, so
Right.
the weather can
Right.
be insane. Yeah.
Whoa. That's bananas. And, I mean, yeah, are you pretty much settled? You're staying, or do you plan to ever move back?
No, we're here for good now. I said to my husband, if he ever gets a promotion again, he can go on his own because I'm happy here. I
Yeah.
love this part of the country. Um, I mean, I've visited some other areas of the country that are kind of close to here, like Fort Smith or
Mm,
Missouri, and I'd move there, but I think we're pretty happy and sold
mhm.
that we're here for good now. So
Yeah, that's kinda
yeah,
nice to know you're not gonna be packing everything, and I'm
yeah.
sure it's like you don't wanna you don't wanna live temporarily everywhere you go just because there might be a move, and
Hmm.
but also moving is the absolute worst, so
Well, the international moves are just like nothing I've ever experienced before, and we've done it, 3 times now.
yeah.
And the only good thing about that kind of move is that it really makes you think about, "Do I need this item?" because
Mhm.
I really need to take this across the seas with me? But yeah, basically, a container, a lorry with a container pulls up, and your whole life gets packed in that, and then it kind of takes 6 weeks to get across the ocean to
You
you.
have to hope
And
it
so,
makes it across the ocean.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
So
gosh.
once that door closes, it's just like, okay, well, there's no going back now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. How did your kids adjust to living in the UK? Were they all about it, or were they like, "We wanna go home?"
We did include them in on the process of like, should we make this move? Because
Mm,
they were like, I think they were more like 7 and 9. Maddie is so crazy because she moved over here when she was 15 months old. So she's never known, she can't remember
right.
living in England, but she would always say to me from so young, "You've taken me away from my people."
Ah!
And she always wanted to live at home. And anytime we'd go home, it would always kind of ignite her again. And
Oh,
she'd say, like, "You've taken me away from my people." And so, but Josh is like full-blooded American. He's got dual nationality. And so he really didn't want to go back. He wanted to stay here. And it was a really hard move. I feel like Maddie, when we got to England, she just kind of settled back really easily. But Josh, for about 18 months, he struggled. And it was heartbreaking seeing your
yeah.
kid go through that. Um, and then when the opportunity came to come back here again, we kind of sat them down and said, what do you want to do? And it was like a holiday weekend in England, and we said, go away, think about it, make a list of all the good stuff and then all the bad stuff, and we'll come back and talk. And they both came back and said, we want to move back to America. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to make those decisions as a parent, but, like, also then giving your kid a voice, it's like I
Hmm.
think that's important part of all of it too, is just, like, letting your kid know, like, "You're part of this family too. We're not gonna just, like,
Yeah.
drag you around. We might have to go somewhere if, dad wants to keep his job or if,
Hmm.
whatever, but, like, we also want to know how you feel about it so that we can address those feelings and be on top of it. Because I think, you know, the kids are our lifeblood. It's like the reason we do anything, right? Like when you've
Yeah.
got them, it's like you have to that's your focus. You've gotta be on top of it, and
Well,
I
and I feel like the nice part about living over here but having family overseas, because it's a lot of it, it's hard when you've
Mhm,
just been around your family like the whole time. We used to live in the middle of all of our family and extended family, and then coming over here, we're on our own.
mhm.
Is that now my kids are at that age. Actually, Joshua yesterday flew to England.
Oh, okay.
Um, so he's got somewhere in England to stay. So my kids both have saved up money so they can book trips to England, so they can go back and they know they can stay with like my mum and dad, and but go and see their friends and everything. Whereas it was
Yeah.
harder when we were in England because it was just kind of elementary school friends here that you can't necessarily go and stay at the house for 2 weeks, you know?
Right, yeah.
So I do feel like now they're older, it's kind of cool because if they want to go home, they know, right, well, this is how much I have to save and,
Yeah.
work, and they can go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Side story, we had some family friends when I was a kid, and they had a son who's just a year younger than me, and he was born in England because his dad is from England. Then they moved back to the States when he was, like, 2 3 or 4, and we would play together and things because my parents were friends with his parents, and he had this little British accent as we were all growing up, and we just thought it was so funny and cute, and then he moved back, he was like, "No, that's my home, I need to go back." So, when you saying Maddie has always kind of been like, "No, you took me away," I just, like, think of my little friend Maddie, and now he's, married, and they're having babies, and it's good, but
Oh.
anyway, um that just made me think of that because we just
Hmm.
grew up with our little British friend Maddie, and he had the cutest little accent. Um,
Well, I try and convince my son because he can do an amazing British accent. He's always kind of been American,
yeah,
but he can do a really good British accent because he's around us all the time.
yeah.
And I'm like, why don't you keep that accent over here, Josh?
Mhm,
That could be helpful. And he's
mhm.
like, Mom, I don't want a girl to like me because of my accent. I was
Why
like, okay.
not?
Okay.
Why not though?
Yeah, but girls, that's why.
I mean, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. So back to quilting. Was there much quilting in England? Like, did you do much over there at all or any?
I don't think I'd ever even heard of it in England, honestly, and I feel like it should be a part of our history and our culture, but I didn't know anyone that quilted.
Mm,
My upbringing was a lot like yours in that, my mum sewed, she was a
mhm.
seamstress, she
Yeah.
sewed her own wedding dress,
Oh,
but she
wow.
never quilted.
Mhm.
Um, so no, I'd never seen it before, and then I made a friend when I was pregnant with Josh, and she was an amazing quilter, and she actually loaned me one of her sewing machines.
Mm.
And that kind of blew my mind as well, like, why would you have more than one machine? When I'm sat here now and I've got 8, you know?
Yeah.
I've never
Uh-huh.
given a sewing machine away in my life. Um, so she was probably but she would show me her quilts and I'd just be like, I do not have the patience for that. You kidding me? Why would I plow all of that effort into that? And now I get it, but at the time, yeah,
Right.
clueless.
Mhm. Wow, that's so funny. It's so wild, like what just I love hearing about people's different paths to quilting. Like that's like the joy of this,
Mhm,
besides talking to really cool people, but just learning all the different ways that people came to quilting because we all have such different stories, but we're all here and it's just interesting that yeah, because you would think like I know there's quilts in England. I know that it's a part of what, people would make their quilts out of old clothing
mhm,
and especially during wartime when there
mhm,
was no cloth to be purchased or people weren't, their clothes would wear out and they can't mend them anymore. You turn the little bits into a blanket. It's, the
mhm.
purposefulness of it, the usefulness of it. And so it's just funny that now that we're so enmeshed in it and it's like all we do all day, every day, and it's like we eat, sleep, think, breathe fabric and
Yeah,
patterns, it's like I can't imagine someone not knowing about it. So then when I say I'm a quilter and somebody goes, "You what?" I'm like, quilts, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my grandma does that." I'm like, "No, no, no, let me show you something." And then
yeah,
I force them to look at pictures of like modern quilts and they're like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's a cool thing." So
yeah. But isn't it funny that maybe if we had a come from a line of quilters that I don't know. I mean, I sit here now and I'm like, "Oh, it'd be amazing if, like, my grandma had done a quilt and I still had it." But then, honestly, maybe if it had have been a part of my history and my something my grandma and my mum had done, maybe I wouldn't have even tried it, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So, I I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, it took me until I was, like I said, in my 30s because my mom sewed. I was like, that's her thing. I don't do that.
Mhm.
I did crochet, and then, yeah, my friends were like, guess what? You're going to learn how to make a quilt. And I was like, I don't think so. And then they were like, yeah. And
Oh,
so,
so it was your friends that brought you into quilting?
mhm,
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, they were, there were four of us and two of them were quilters and the other two of us weren't. And then the 2 who are quilters were like, "You guys, we're gonna hold your hand. You're gonna make a quilt. If you hate it, you never have to do it again, but we just really think you're gonna like it." And we were like, "Whatever." And now look at me.
Look at you now.
Yeah. So, and then my mom had actually started getting into quilting about a year and a half before me because her friend was a quilter and her friend's mom had a long arm. And I
Uh,
was like, "What the hell's a long arm?" But she like, whatever. And then, um, a probably less than a year after I started quilting, we took a long arm certification class to learn.
wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, we were obsessed. And again, because she had been sewing her whole life and I had always been around fabric and loved the products of what sewing could do, realizing I could just sew a bunch of straight seams and like put a cute quilt together and use fabric I loved was like my dream. Um and so we took that class together. And then that spring, early summer, that's when we bought our own long arm because we were like, screw this, we need our own. So it was a really quick progression, but yeah, it was always her thing. It was never a thing that I was gonna do because that was my mom's thing. So I think you're right. Like if she had been quilting or if it had been more of a thing that like was hers, I don't think I would have touched it.
Well, especially when, my mum she makes quilts now and she's really hard on herself, which is crazy
Mhm.
because I'm like, woman, you made your own wedding dress. Like you can do a 1/4 of an inch seam. Don't worry about it. This is easy compared to what you've done.
Yeah.
But maybe there's other things that she does, like knitting, that she's one of these people that'll look at the pattern and then she'll just sit there like that while she's watching the TV. Whereas where I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I have to think about everything and I'm terrible at it. Maybe if quilting had been something that she excelled in so much as that, maybe I wouldn't have even tried because it's kind of
Yeah.
like, well, my mum's an expert, so we don't need
Yeah.
another expert in the family, you know?
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
100%. That's that's how I felt. I was like, I can't touch that. My mom already knows all of it. Like I can't,
Mhm.
that's her thing. You know, it just almost felt like I would be infringing on the thing that, yeah, is her claim, is her hobby, is her joy, is her
Mhm.
kind of escape. And I never wanted to be in the way of that. So,
Mhm.
mhm.
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
big time funny. um, okay, so you are, I'm going to say famous for your pixel quilts, which you've got one behind you. If you're not on YouTube, go to YouTube because you can see one of her many Post Malone quilts that you've designed, and it's not just a bunch of 1 inch squares, which I love because I've made a 1 inch square pixelated like Zelda quilt and I wanted to die because it was
It's
too many.
tedious.
It's so tedious. And I did, there were parts where it's like if it was a long strip of the same color, I would just make that length of strip. But it
Mhm.
was still like 1.5 inch cuts of all these different colors and fabrics. And I was like, I'm gonna die. I hate this so much. So anyway, but yours are not like that. So I guess, yeah, when did you get into doing that whole thing and making those designs?
Well, so I've probably been quilting about 16 years, and I would say uh, at the 16-year mark, I was still at the point where I was like, I don't love this, but I do
Mhm.
love the outcome. And so most of my quilts, well, I'd say 95% of them were for gifts. And so I was just plowing through in order to have the gift.
Mhm.
And then it was actually when we made the move back to America. So in 2020, we moved back in late summer.
Mm.
Well, 2020 was a huge year for my daughter. She was finishing high school, so she was doing all her exams. We'd booked to go and see Billie Eilish as a well done on all the effort she'd put into her exams. And then, of course, February and March rolled around and the pandemic hit. And so we were in lockdown for 3 months in England. And so I kind of looked to quilting at that time and I chose some patterns, like a block a month. I'd do a block a day and I'd
Mhm.
spend kind of 5, 6 hours up in my room just putting that together. And so that really helped me get through.
Mm.
But ultimately, when we moved back in the summer, we were still in partial lockdown. So Maddie hadn't finished school. She hadn't been able to say goodbye to her friends. Um, the Billie Eilish concert got cancelled. So the whole thing was just it left her in a really, really bad place. And then, of course, moving back over here, she was having to join. So high school in England finishes at 16, and then,
Mhm.
but of course, it doesn't finish till 18 here. So she was
Yeah.
then in this position where she was having to go to a new school and make new friends. Just, it was a really, really hard time for her. Um, and she was not in a good place at all. And I was very aware that I had to stay close to her and keep an eye on her. And
Mhm.
so I was trying to inspire her to kind of do a project with me, which is how the Billie Eilish quilt came about.
Mm.
Because I said to her, look, as soon as she releases the tour dates and we can go to a concert, we're gonna get tickets. So how
Yeah.
about me and you make a quilt or I said a banner of something that we can hold up at her concert so that maybe just for that 1 second she'll look in our direction.
Yeah.
So that's how the Billie Eilish quilt came about. The first quilt I made of her face was her album cover,
Mhm.
and it turned out being 80 inches by 80 inches, so there's no way you can get into a concert venue with that thing. But it was an amazing way of me being able to work on something to help me get my mind, give me a different focus, but also my room is right next door to her bedroom. And so
Mhm,
I was able to keep an eye on her without her even realizing I was
mhm.
keeping an eye on her. And I would hear like Billy's music. I feel like when it comes to Billie Eilish and Post Malone, it's like I know all of their songs like by osmosis because I've just heard them. They've been like the soundtrack to my life for so many years. So I made Billy and I loved it. And it was the first quilt that I ever loved the whole process of designing and cutting and making. And when I was finished, I put a photograph of it on Facebook and people just went a little bit crazy for it. It was like they hadn't really seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Maddie, like, I love this process and I want to do another one and see, really test it and see if there's something I could replicate again. Because in my head, I was also thinking, this is a beautiful young girl, and I've taken an album cover that is this perfectly curated photo, and maybe I'm never going to be able to replicate this again. And so I
Mhm.
remember saying to Maddie, I'd like to do someone that has a really complicated face, because then at least I know this is a thing and I can really dive into it. And so the other music that used to come from her room all the time was Post Malone, and she said, "But why don't you do Post Malone?" And he was a young man, but he had all of these, he still has, he has loads more tattoos than that on his face now.
Yeah.
So he was number 2. This is just a different version, a different colorway of the second quilt I made. I made it in black and white to begin with.
Mhm.
And so I feel like Billy was the one that kind of led me on this pixel quilt path, but Posty is the one that solidified, okay, I love this. There's something in it. I'm gonna really see what I can do with this. And so yeah, he's kind of the reason, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and what a beautiful way to connect with your daughter and, you know, I think it's like when they know that you're watching them, they almost, like, hide harder, so it's like
Mhm.
if you just kind of were like, "I'm just gonna be close by
Yeah.
for when you need me, because 'cause you're going to, but if I tell you that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna push you away, but if I'm too far away, then, it'll all seem disconnected," but, um, I was, like, starting to tear up because I was like, "You're such a g" um
Well, it was I guess so I've made 2 Billy quilts. She was my
Mhm,
first quilt, and then she was my 50th as well. And
mhm.
I've made 7 Post Malone quilts, but that's a whole different story. But those were the 2 artists that hearing their music come from her room was the thing that indicated to me that she's still fighting
Yeah,
and that she was still there, you know? And
yeah,
so I think that's why I I love my quilts, that I've made of them so much, because to other people they're just, music artists, but actually to me they represent so much more. And since then I've been able to go to see Post Malone twice with Maddie, and then we saw Billy once, and then she's
mhm,
coming to Tulsa in November.
uh-huh,
And it was just such an amazing experience to go and do that with Maddie. And I swear, like, for most of the concerts, we were just like screaming and jumping up and down. But there was that point in every single concert where we just looked at each other and just started crying, because it was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, this is
yeah,
amazing. And this has been such a journey to get to this point.
yeah,
So that might be something that I'm not very good at kind of relaying. Yeah, you know what? Most of the quilts I made, there are famous people, but there are some that there's real deep meaning behind why I make them.
right, yeah, it's like that need for hope in
Mhm.
such a dark corner of time
Mhm.
and space, and, I mean, the pandemic was hard for everybody, but I think, like, when you're a kid, I mean, she was supposed to be done with school, finishing school, and then she, just like moving and having to basically go back in and be young again in the in sense of like you still have 2 more years of school versus
Mhm.
no, you're supposed to be done. Like that would be so hard. And like my youngest was starting high school when everything was still locked down. So he didn't really get to say goodbye to his friends
Mhm.
and went into, online school with his parents home. My mother-in-law was living with us at the time. RIP, but also, oh my God, that was so hard. Um, and that was just so hard for him. And then when he finally got to go to school, it was like everything changed. Everything opened up. He was just like a completely different kid all of a sudden. But just watching that happen was just like, oh my God, what do we do? Like, what do we do?
Mhm.
And
Well, and I
thankfully,
think we forget now because we're looking back on it by what, 5 years, but
mhm,
at the time, there was a lot of fear surrounding this illness as well because
yeah,
you weren't necessarily gonna get away unscathed from it. So there was all that fear as
right.
well that, you try and kind of protect your kids from, but they know if
Mhm,
all of a sudden for the first time in their life they're not allowed to leave their house for 3 months,
yeah,
they know there's something going on.
yeah,
So yeah, that whole time looking back on it now, it's like, it was so difficult,
yeah.
really difficult.
Really rough. Yeah, yeah. And our oldest had gone into basic training for the Air Force
Wow.
in January, and then in March, like, we flew to Texas to go see his graduation from basic training, and everything was locked down. We landed, and all these alerts were popping up on our phones, like, "Sorry, graduation's closed down to any visitors," and we were like, "I'm sorry, we can't see our child," and they were like, "No, can't." We were just
Oh
like,
my goodness.
just waiting in San Antonio, Texas. We didn't know if we were gonna be able to fly home. I was, frantic because I was full-time teaching still, and so I was, like, on Zoom and on the phone with my team. We were trying to figure out what to do, and the school was giving directives, and so I was, like, frantically creating, like, a 2-week, kind of backup lesson plan that my kids could do at home on their own, and in the meantime, we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do as a school, and yeah, like, not getting to see our kid, but we were kind of, like, they gave them back their phones, and then they did, like, a virtual graduation, so we were able to go to, like, a big hotel, like, ballroom where they live streamed it for us, and there were times he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be out, like, helping practice with marching, and so I'm gonna be out at this field at this time," and because my husband was also Air Force, he had kinda, like, knew the lay of the land there, and so he's like, "Okay, if we go over here, we're gonna be able to see him through the fence," and he, like, had a telephoto lens on his camera, and we were, like, snapping pictures of him from so
Wow.
far away, and oh, it was the worst time of our lives, I think. We were just sobbing for 5 days because we were just like, "How do we do this? How do we just, like, not have contact with our kid?" Like,
Yeah.
and our youngest was, like, so sad because his brother's his best friend, and he couldn't see his brother, and it was just like everything got ripped away, and ugh,
Mhm.
anyway. So, the fact that you guys had Billy and Posty to keep you together and to walk you through that shitty, shitty time
It was
is just
horrible.
so magic, and the quilts are so beautiful, and I I just love every new one you post. I'm like, She did it again. I don't know how. Like, how is she doing this? Like, this is magical. I don't know." So I I just I love seeing what you come up with, and whose face you decide to do next. I know you did Morgan Wade, and you've done the Queen of England, and you've done Maya Angelou and Sade, and I mean, there's a big range of quilts you've designed and put together, and they're all just stunning. So
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
I love them. And you've had some, I mean, some of them have had custom quilting done. Some of them you've done just like regular edge to edge. And
Yeah, well, I would say the first 10 pixel quilts I made, I wouldn't do anything other than stipple or straight line quilt because I really thought as soon as you start introducing like a busy pattern onto a face, it's going to completely detract from the look I was trying to get. And then I had the quilt that was requested by Buckingham Palace that went to the Queen that I had just straight line quilted. And then when I showed that at my guild and said I was going to make a replica for my family, a lady in my guild reached out to me who was a quilter, and she said, "Well, I've got this amazing design of crowns. Would you like it if I quilted that on your replica?" And the thing is, I remember thinking, "Oh no, it's going to be ruined. It's going to be ruined."
Can't ruin the queen.
So, but I'm like a bit of a people pleaser as well. So I was like, no, that would be amazing. Thank you. And she actually like let me come round and watch her as she did it, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I was able to see, oh, you can do custom quilting on these, and
Mm,
it actually enhances the design because then you're adding another level of detail. So
right.
that's when my world really opened up with quilting. And since then, Robin is my lady here in Tulsa, and she will do digitized designs on my quilts, but what she will also do is create custom digitized designs for me.
Okay.
So if I'm working with a company, then she can take their logo or whatever it is that I've just made a quilt of, and she can do custom quilting of that, which for me is just like out of this world.
Yeah.
And then I've had a few different people free motion quilt details into my quilts as well, which
Yeah.
again brings such a level of detail that I would never have known about it had I not been pushed to try a new type of quilting on these things. I swear I would have just sat for the next 10 years just doing stippling.
Hmm.
But it's been such an added bonus, like
Yeah.
meeting these people that have then taken what I've done and then just elevated it. So
Hmm.
I'm super like, and that's the part of it I love now. I love thinking about, okay, so how is this going to be quilted? And honestly, for the most part, I have such good people that quilt my stuff. A lot of the time I would just say to them, what do you think? And then let them run with it, or let them choose the thread color. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is my part of the deal. And
Right.
then yours is, I'm going to completely trust you and your artistry to
Yeah.
see where you take this.
Yeah. And as a long armor, I can tell you that that is like the ultimate dream collaboration is
Oh,
when
really?
the piecer is just like, okay, put your magic on it. Cause there's nothing worse. I'm going to say this, try to be careful. I don't know. There's honestly nothing worse than someone who's like, I want you to custom quilt my quilt, but I want it to be someone else's work. Like if somebody says, "Oh, I want the cover
Mm,
quilt." Exactly. And I'm like, I can't, that's not
that's
my
so
work. That's
hard.
not my art. I
Yeah.
can't do that. And there's some stuff where I'm like, "Oh, that's easy. It's just straight line quilting or whatever it is that, there are instances where I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine. But I often don't do custom. So when I do, it's because I want to take something on that's going to challenge me or let me do what I do.
Mhm.
You've already like you said, you've done your part. It's
Yeah.
like if you're trusting someone, especially with customizing, it's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm the artist. Like this is my art medium.
Mm.
I'm the one painting with thread.
Well, and it's kind of like someone coming up with a painting and going, "Can you do that, please?" It's like you wouldn't
Right.
do that to another
No.
artist. And I will say that the times that was something I didn't realize from the start. So
Mhm.
I knew I wasn't going to step on your toes by telling you how to quilt this.
Right.
I didn't realize that I needed to own this part of it and create this part of it. So when I've
Yeah.
worked with people before and they have been very insistent of like, this is the image you should use, and
Mhm.
I look at the image and it doesn't click with me, those have been
Yeah.
the hardest quilts I've ever put together because every line that I'm putting together, I'm second guessing and going, because it wasn't my choice. It
Right.
wasn't my choice of person. It didn't sometimes I feel like some of the quilts, the images that have been chosen by someone else, they didn't truly represent that person or truly show what I wanted to show. And so I've learned now that's in my wheelhouse, that I can stand there and go, no, look, if you want this person done, these are the three images you can choose from, and they're my
Right.
choice, because I know they work.
Looking for your next quilting obsession? Introducing Cotton Cuts, your online fabric shop and home of the puzzle mystery quilts. Each month, you'll unwrap a new clue featuring beautifully curated, premium pre cut pieces and easy to follow instructions so that you can skip the cutting and dive straight into the stitching. No spoilers here, though, the final design stays under wraps until the big reveal. With a gorgeous range of fabrics, clever pre cut kits, and a community of passionate quilters cheering you on, Cotton Cuts makes every stitch an adventure. Join the thousands of quilters and me who have discovered the magic of quilting made simple. Visit Cotton Cuts and get started today. And
But again, that's just a learning curve, you know?
yeah, and I think as, when you're leaning into your part of the process and you're the artist behind that bit of it, then like yeah, you need to say like you have a choice, but here's what I'm comfortable with working,
Mhm,
here's where I am where I know my skills can shine the
mhm,
most, where you will get something that you love and that I love. And when we both love it, it's going to be even that much better. And so,
mhm,
not to say that, like, I guess I do want to back myself up a tiny bit and just say, like, I'll quilt whatever you want me to quilt, I guess, if it's within my skills and my ability. But I think it's much more freeing and it's much more, um, it feels like it honors like my work, my craft when I can have a true collaboration with the piecer.
mhm,
And when you have that, it's like it feels like magic. It's like something is happening that is so much deeper than just putting a basic edge to edge on a quilt, which is fine. I love that part too because it, puts personality on the quilt. But I can only imagine like you handing over this beautiful piece of art that you've done and then saying to the next artist and collaborating and if they understand you and understand your vision, I think it just like helps helps the flow of it, helps, it's like you can trust that that person understands what you want from it
mhm.
at the end of the day, and
And if I'm working with someone, it's because I trust them
mhm,
and I trust their artistry and yeah, so it kinda just goes hand in hand that I do my bit and then I'll hand it over, you know?
yeah, yeah, I love it so much, and
We should collaborate.
yeah, we should. I would be obsessed. I love I just love it. It's so fun, and, like, I've been collaborating with Erin over at Seymour for Society to long arm the mass shooting quilts, and she just sent me, like, one of the next panels, and, we come up with a phrase or whatever, and then she's like, "All right, you just put it on there how you choose," and that has been really freeing, and just being able to, like yeah, like, she trusts my vision of how that should be done, and
Mhm,
I've trusted her to give me the pieces, the blocks that she has painstakingly made that other people are painstakingly making to
mhm.
sadly represent, these mass shootings, but anyway, yeah, I would love to collaborate with you. That would be so fun.
Cool, we'll get it sorted.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you kinda mentioned, like, we had kinda talked about talking about a year ago, and it didn't happen
Mhm,
because things were, I'm gonna say, shitty. Um I'll say it for you so you don't have to. And, so I wanted to give you space and let you come to me when you were ready because I knew you would. But so the whole thing is about a website where people could enter their own photos into the website. It would pixelate it for them based on the highlights, the shadows, the coloring
mhm,
in the photo. And you actually helped Aaron and Emily and Alicia with their abortion access quilt that they had entered into QuiltCon for
mhm.
2025,
Yeah.
um, and they loved it. They were like, "This was the coolest thing ever." So I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
this is so cool." But, anyway, so you're in the final phases of your website. It's not out quite yet, but people have been testing it and working through,
Mhm.
like, the different versions. So tell me how that's going
So
and
when I first started on this pixel quilt journey, I looked to see what else is out there. And I've tested every app, every website, every piece of software that's available.
mhm,
And nothing for me really hit the nail on the head completely. And
mhm,
so when I knew this was something that I was passionate about, I thought I want to create something that ticks all the boxes for me. And in my head, I'm going, and you know what? If this is just something that helps me make these quilts and that I use, that's completely fine.
sure,
So I found a team of software developers that I've been working with for 3 years now, over probably near 3.5 years. and gave them a vision, and that's what they're producing for me. So the final version of the website is out on my website, pixelquilts.com, where you can go and upload an image and then it will turn it into a pixel quilt pattern for you. And then over the last 3 years, we've really been working hard on the algorithm and getting the highest level of detail possible we can. We've added 4 fabric lines, so you can pick from Kona, from Michael Miller's Cotton Couture, Riley Blake, and Bella, Moda Bella. And then there's different filters on there you can try. So a lot of the time when you bring an image into a pixel quilt, it will accentuate the colors. So if you're dealing with a face, the undertones that are in your skin, so I have red undertones. So if you drop a picture of me and pixelate it, you'll see red and purple and everything. And that really used to annoy me. So there's different filters on there, like a black and white one, so you don't have to struggle with that. And there's a warm filter as well that takes away, because people can have green, blue, gray undertones. So there's different filters so you can kind of try and get your image to work. But yeah, this is something that we've been working on for over 3 years. And I finally got to the point last year where I was like, there were so many people contacting me saying, can we just try it? Can we just try it? So I put it out there in August of 2024. And then almost for a year now, we've been just like feedback. People have been giving us feedback or, saying, this is something you should add. And so that's what we've been doing for the last year. And so we're in a final push right now, and I'm hoping kind of September time of this year is when the final version will be out. So at the moment, people can still use it and they can make their own quilt patterns. And actually, at the moment, it's still kind of half price at $15 for a custom pattern, and it's all instantaneous. So as soon as you're happy and you've paid, it will download to your desktop. But yeah, it's been a journey. I'm not sure. I mean, you should never really say this, but if I knew what I knew now back when I started it, I don't know whether I would have done it, because there's just been so much heartache attached to it that I just didn't even anticipate. I didn't anticipate that quilts could upset people so much. And so I've learned a lot of lessons, and I've had to develop a really thick skin, because the reason why we were supposed to do this conversation a year ago and we didn't was because there's another company on the market that it just wants to shut me down, basically. And the way they've gone about that is that anytime I announce on my social media that I'm working with a new company or I'm going to be teaching at a new quilt show, then they will go to the president of QuiltCon. They will go to the president of the company that I'm working with, and they will say, you shouldn't work with her, da 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 da. And it's been heartbreaking and completely mortifying as well. I am so embarrassed that every time I look at working with someone new, I have to say to them, there's going to be someone that's contacting you, and this is her name, and this is the situation. And it's not something I've ever spoken about publicly because I was just so embarrassed about it. It's not, I'm not proud of this. But ultimately, when we did launch the website, and it came out in its testing phase last August was when it was first made public. I did it because I was told, look, this will prompt action from them, and actually action, be it cease and desist or whatever, you need that in order to know which way you go forward. And so I have been waiting since August, so nearly a year, and not once has this company reached out to me, not once has this person contacted me, but they, up until I haven't heard anything in a few months, so fingers crossed, but literally going to everybody that I work with and just spreading malicious, libelous, completely unfactual claims. And I will say, which is as a people pleaser, which I'm trying not to be a people pleaser, is like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because You hate me. Oh my goodness, you really hate me and you want to shut me down and you're trying to really wreck my life by
Yeah.
stopping me moving in these directions. Yet you will never say anything to my face and you will
Right.
never contact me directly. And when I realized, when I got out of survival mode and just the shock of this person coming after me, I realized, oh, I'm dealing with a bully. Like,
Mm,
I'm not dealing with someone who stood next to me and going, well, this and this and this is why I'm coming after you. No, you're just going behind my back.
mhm.
And the whole thing was absolutely mortifying. And for a good few months, I didn't want to talk about it. I couldn't come on here and say anything. I couldn't even come on here and pretend I was okay because I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you know, before I ever started this journey, I sought legal advice from a copyright attorney and there's no copyrights, there's no trademarks, there's no nothing.
Mhm.
And so because I wanted to know, okay, I want to do this, what do I have to make sure I am in good standing with? And there's
Right.
nothing. And so over the past year, it's gone from being just like hurt and embarrassed. It's like the stages of grief, you know. I was like hurt
Yeah.
initially and then embarrassed. And then, you know, I'm angry now that this has happened.
Mhm.
And I will fight it now and I will speak about it publicly now because this isn't right at all.
No. Yeah.
And if like my closest circle have known that this has been going on, but I've never spoken about it publicly because I've always been too embarrassed and too mortified
Mhm.
to speak about it publicly. And now I'm like, do you know what? It's not me that should be embarrassed.
Mm-mm.
This
You're not
isn't,
the one bad mouthing somebody just because they had a better idea than you.
yeah,
Like,
or put more effort into it than you
right.
did. And I'm sorry you weren't successful in the 11 years you've been on the market. I'm sorry that you have
Right.
not achieved. But this has been my focus for kind of 3.5, 4 years solid, you know.
Right.
This is my full-time job and has been for years and years. So the
Yeah.
fact that now I'm getting a little bit of recognition and you don't like that, I think that says more about you than it does about me. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm finally at the point where I'm like, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done playing nice and I've sought legal advice now, and so I know where I stand.
Mhm.
When the next attack happens, I know
Yeah.
the process that I need to go through. But I mean, it's still embarrassing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because it's like it's something that's out of your control. So it's like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, there's limits to what you can do
Mhm,
legally. And it's not like you're gonna go around like knocking heads. Like you're not gonna mob them and like, turn into the mafia and send people after them. It's like you're gonna stay who you are and true to who you are as a person and to just know that someone's out there spreading bullshit about you is
mhm,
just like, yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for the embarrassment, but also I'm also here to tell you like that's on them. It's on them to feel embarrassed. Like they should be the ones ashamed of their own behavior because if they put half as much effort into their own product, their own business as they're putting into shitting on yours, like they'd probably be more successful. Like
yeah,
the time that people spend bad mouthing each other or like trashing other companies to be like, don't work with them, whatever, unless you've like actually been a piece of shit. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Like,
yeah,
my relationship with that person is up to me and that person. It's not up to anybody else. Like,
mhm,
if I feel comfortable with it because I've done my own due diligence and
mhm,
done some fact checking and gone around and feel fine with it, then nobody else should have a say. And so
mhm,
the fact that they're literally like going so far above everybody's heads to try to be shitty to you without being
mhm.
shitty at you, like directly at you, it's like,
And all of it is done behind the scenes, you know?
right.
So it's very insidious, very, oh, you're not actually showing anybody who you are really,
Yeah.
because it's all being done behind the scenes. But then every time it's done behind the scenes, these people are coming to me and telling me.
Mhm.
And amazingly, it's always been done in the way of like, Dee, I've got to tell you something. Oh, it's really horrible. Sorry about this. It's never been like, we're not going to work with you. Do you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
think they can see where this is coming from.
Mhm.
But even just having to have that conversation with people is completely mortifying. And I will say that my reaction when this first happened tapped into it really triggered me because I've always been like a people pleaser. And
Mhm.
so to have someone despise me so greatly, to me, when I don't even know you, is like, oh my goodness, I must be the worst type of person. And so my
Right.
friends and my husband were stood around me and they could see me crumbling and they go, Dee, no, this isn't about you. This is about them. And you don't have to feel bad about this. But at the time, all I'm trying to work through is like, just the fact that someone's come at me so hard, and
Right.
that my natural inclination is to go, I'm so sorry. What do you need me to do? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm
Right.
so
How
sorry.
do I fix it? Yeah.
And my husband actually stopped me from writing this company an email saying, okay, what do you want from me? Like, what do you need? Tell me what you need. He's just like, are you kidding me? Are you joking? You're not going to send the email. I'm like, I just want to make it all go away. And that was this time last year. And
Yeah.
I can say a year on now, I'm in a completely different headspace.
Yeah.
I've gone from being, just kind of embarrassed and mortified and scared to
Defend
bring it.
yourself.
I'm
Yeah.
angry. I'm
Yeah.
angry that you did this.
Mhm.
And if I need to speak up about it, I will speak up about it, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because this kind of stuff going on behind the scenes, people don't know who they're dealing with. You
Right.
don't realize behind this company is someone who's put someone else through this kind of treatment.
Mhm.
And maybe they should know, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah. I think if it's coming to a point where it's just like, "Oh, we had a disagreement, whatever, that's nobody else's business." But if it's someone who's continually, like, trying to harm you and your business and doing it, like, unprompted, unprovoked, like,
mhm,
with absolutely no reason behind it, and they've not even tried to talk to you directly, then I think,
mhm,
yeah, expose them. I think the more we expose the shitty behavior that does happen behind the scenes, the easier it is for the rest of us to understand who we're dealing with. I don't wanna spend my money with somebody who's being a total shitbag in
mhm,
somebody's DMs for no reason. Like, especially it's like, if you're not gonna be your whole self out in the open, then, like, you're already lost. It's like, I don't wanna deal with you. So, like, I appreciate when people are honest about their experiences, and even if it's just on a personal level, like, if they see me, like, interacting with that business and they come in and go, "I just wanna let you know this is what's
mhm.
going on, like, this is the experience I've had. I'm not sure what yours is, but I just wanna, like, check in with you." I appreciate that stuff so much because then I can go, "Oh, I didn't even recognize," because also as a people pleaser, I'm like, "Hi, how do I make you like me?" Versus like, "Do I even want you to like me?" kinda
Well,
thing.
the crazy thing is this first conversation I had with this attorney who's a copyright attorney, and I said, "Look, this is the situation. This is what I'm thinking of doing. Can we search for copyrights?" Da, 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 da. So he did his research, and then he came back to me like a couple of weeks later, and he told me, "There's nothing. There's nothing. Even if there is a copyright in their country, there's no such thing as an international copyright. There would have to be a copyright here in America." Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I was like, "But what about this? What about that? But what
Yeah.
about this?" And at one point, he stopped me and he went, "Dee, you do realize that it's not criminal for you to be competition for somebody. You do realize."
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Oh,
"Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd
mm,
never thought about it that way. I just thought about it like, I don't wanna hurt anybody and I don't wanna,
right.
piss anybody off."
Right. Well, and like you said, before you even started, that's where you started, was so that you weren't stepping on toes. You weren't taking
Mhm,
someone else's work and trying to claim it as yours. And I think that's the most important piece in all of it, is because before you even started, you were thinking of other people. You were putting yourself in the shoes of, like, what if somebody was doing this to me, or
mhm,
somebody came on the market with this idea and I had already copyrighted it, I'd be so upset.
mhm,
So it's like almost I think there are superpowers in in the people pleaser mindset because you can think
Mhm,
from those angles, but then getting stuck in it is so freaking hard because
mhm,
then you're in those stages of like embarrassment of how can I fix it, whatever. It's almost like it keeps you from acting because you're trying to look at your own behavior, your own, what did I do? What did I do? Versus like now that you're angry, when anger enters, that's almost like fuel for like, okay, like, yeah, come at me. Let's see what happens now. Like you're actually in the wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. It's like
mhm.
then when that switch flips, then you can take action. But it's like for me, it just takes it's getting better, but it takes so long for me to switch into that mode of like, wait, I didn't do anything. Like, why am
Yeah.
I catering to this person's bullshit when like I literally did nothing? I'm just existing. And
Mhm.
they're mad that I'm talking. Like, okay, well, guess what? Don't listen. I don't care, but you don't have to be mean about it. It's like, eh,
And it's
or,
hard because, when you are a people pleaser, that's your default.
mhm,
Well, how did I cause this? What can I do to make it better? It's all about I need to fix this and I need to
yeah,
fix it now. And the level of stress kind of in my body when I know there's something wrong and like I feel like it's my fault and I feel like I need to fix it.
yeah,
I mean, that was such a huge lesson to me. And I hate the fact that I had that lesson, but it honestly it's also taught me so much
mhm,
because I don't look at things the same anymore. I don't
right,
like my initial response if someone says like whatever complaint they have will be, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry." But I'm much faster to reflect now and go, "Okay, hang on. Is this a me thing? Is this all
mhm,
down to me?" You know?
mhm,
Because when you're a people pleaser, everything's down to you.
right, yeah, yeah. It's like, I like to think about it. It helps me like come out of it is when I'm like, oh right, like that people pleasing, that like that anxious voice, it's very like inward and self-focused. But if I turn it around and look outside of myself, then I can see the problem as a whole instead of just,
Mhm,
what do I do? What do I do? It's like a panic. And
mhm.
same thing. It's like I have to just sit on emails. If I get an emotional reaction from something, somebody emails me or DMs me, I'm like, I see a word or just like part of a phrase and it maybe triggers some anxiety in me. I have to close it. I have to set it aside. And then when I'm calm, then I can go back to it. I'm like, okay, now I can, with a present mind, read the whole thing and see what was actually being said versus immediately taking offense or being
Yeah,
defensive when it's like, I don't even know what they're trying to say because I just saw a word that made my brain go, danger. Ah. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I got the sharp sweats. I'm like crying in the corner. My husband's like, let me read it. And he'll read it and be like, why are
Well,
you?
and that I think feel like that's why when it's so important to have your husband step in and be like the voice of reason and realize that you with like us with our emotions all out of control at the moment, we're
Yeah.
not seeing a big picture, we're just kind of like this.
Yeah.
So to have someone trusted to stand in the gap and go, yeah, like actually this is the bigger picture right here, that I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Honestly. Or, a friend that you can trust. It's like just someone, you just need someone in your corner to go, hold on.
Yeah,
That person's being a jerk, not
yeah,
you. Like,
yeah.
are they asking for anything from you? And that was like one of the, as a quilter, that's one of the things I had to kind of step back and if somebody's like, well, I don't like this. I'm like, well, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll fix it. And I'm like, no, you chose literally every bit of that. I just executed what you approved.
Mhm.
What don't you like about it? You don't like your own vision? That's not my problem. It's like, but it's like I have to step away from that entirely and go, somebody else look at this first because I can't, my brain can't comprehend it right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
And having that is, yeah, like you said, worth its weight in gold because I think just somebody to kind of shake you and break you out of that spiral of wanting to fix something that's not even yours to fix or that you never
Mhm.
broke is like,
It's a journey, isn't it? Honestly. I didn't realize how deep the people pleasing went until I started unpicking it. And then I
Mhm.
realized that, and now it's almost, I'm in that transitional phase where I've identified that this is who I am and this is a trauma response. This isn't really me. This is a trauma response. And this is
Yeah.
not who I need to be.
Mhm.
And so now I'm in that place where I'm like, but I'm still feeling all the feelings.
Right.
So you'd still but you're recognizing, but I'm feeling the feelings because this is a trauma response. And so again, at the moment, it's still like super important for me to have like my husband so I can go, can you just look at this and tell me, am I overreacting? And it's like, well, I'm kind of overreacting, you know?
I know. I'm like, "No,
But
I'm gonna tell you why it's fine that I'm being the way that I am." My husband's like, "Come on, seriously?" I'm like, "No, literally, let me tell you why it's fine that I'm screaming at the top of my lungs." And he's like, "No, absolutely not. I don't accept
but
that."
do you know what? Maybe that's why. I mean, if you said your husband was in the Air Force, my husband's in aviation, he's an
Mhm.
engineer. We're completely opposite ends of the spectrum, you know? There's
Yeah.
been times that he's come in my sewing room and I'm straight line quilting on my long arm, a
Mhm.
quilt, and he will recognize that my straight lines are not lining up with my seams. And you can just see him like,
His eyes twitching, yeah.
yeah. And I have to say, just leave. You need to just take that negativity and go. But that's that kind of person that he is. And I'm
Mhm.
this kind of hippie, creative type.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why we balance each other out so
Yeah.
well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, yeah, I can have that like whimsical childhood wonder, excitement about crafty, arty, beautiful things, and yeah, he's definitely more analytical. He's like math degree, computer science degree. He just got his license, his therapy license, so
Oh,
he's a counselor.
really?
Yeah. So
That is a mix
he
right
did a
there.
huge swing. Oh yeah, big time. But he's like, I mean, life's too short to do one thing your whole life. And I'm like, yeah.
But it would be kinda nice to have a therapist as well who is, like, analytical.
Mhm.
That's that's
Yeah.
interesting.
He's really good at it. He's really good at it. He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, literally every single person I talk to or like that knows us is like, "He's gonna be such a good therapist." I'm like, "I know, right?" It's like he has his own little fan club that he won't accept, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's so funny, but well, I'm glad that you're speaking out about this because you don't have to suffer alone. You've got a huge, huge community behind you that knows your true heart and knows that at your core, you just wanna make beautiful things and you wanna give people access to the ability to do that too, and
Mhm.
the fact that, you know, you're angry. I like when you're like, "I'm angry now," I was like, "Fucking yes, finally." Like, I think I experienced that with a friend, she was going through a divorce, and she was just like, "I just wanna make sure, make it smooth," and then she got to a point where she was like we were on a hike, and she goes, "I'm angry now," and I was like, "Oh, finally, you can do something." Like, it's like eh, and just recognizing it's like, okay, now it's time to take action. Now we're ready to like move forward and not let this
Mm,
eat us alive anymore. And I'm celebrating from a place of recognition of like, I know what that feels like to come out of that dark hole that you built yourself and just be like, no, you're not going to push me back in this corner anymore. Like,
mhm,
you don't have that power. I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not sorry. Like,
mhm. Well, and I saw other people's anger, like, the close friendships that I've had that have been through this process with me, they were
yeah,
all angry on my behalf, and I could
yeah.
see that. And now it's just nice instead of being in that pathetic phase.
Mm.
Just like, I am so done, even thinking about this. Like, I don't even want
Yeah.
to think about it anymore. It just angers me.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we're there. We're there, but
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, with this final phase of testing and making sure that everything is, tip top and exactly how you want it, that it gets released in the world and, more fully, more in its full entirety. And I think it's already been so successful. I've already seen so many people be so excited that they've had access to it and be able to create their own versions and
oh, and
take
what
ownership of
people
that.
produce. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how much it would touch me when I see the results of other people putting their heart and soul and making something. Honestly, half the time it brings me to tears to see what they produce because I can see how beautiful and meaningful it is. A lot of the things that people are making, it's to honor people that have passed or
Mhm.
pets, and so it's just been the most touching journey that I didn't even realize that part of it was going to be such a big part of it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I can only imagine because it's like
Mm.
something that you were doing as a way to, connect with your daughter and be together but separate in such a dark time. It's like now you're getting to gift that kind of hope and that joy to other people and say, here, you can have a little bit of this too. And
And just show people, because people look at these quilts and they think, "Oh, that's so difficult. I could never do that." And I'm like, "No,
yeah.
this is easier than most other quilts you've ever made, because you know what? There's no tiny triangles. There's no bias seams. If you can sew like that much straight, you're good to go." And
Hmm.
I know they look like they should be complicated. They're not. They are not at all. And so
Yeah.
when people realize and then they achieve and they produce something that they love, that, it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an accomplishment. And it's like, yeah, because it's like you see these. I mean, I see your quotes and I'm like, holy shit, I don't think I could ever
You could.
do that.
Super easy.
But I can. I mean, but I think also it's your labor of love of putting something together that makes it accessible, that makes puts it into the hands of the people. And so because I've seen it happen and because I have close personal friends who've used it to make a quilt that they were very passionate about, it's like, okay, yeah, this is definitely something I could do. And once I find a picture that's worthy, I'll do it. But
You know it when you'll find it.
yeah,
You'll just know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And they all turn out so beautifully. And it's just such a testament to the love that's behind it. Because I think
Mhm,
ultimately what I'm getting from it is that underneath all of it is just like a deep love that you have for your family, for your friends, for the community,
mhm.
and you're just trying to share that and spread it. And that touches me because it
Aw.
feels like when it's genuine, it just feels right and it feels good. And having known you for the past couple of years and talking with you and just kind of knowing some of the ins and outs, like we haven't really fully talked about it, but you did, you were sharing with me a little bit here and there. And
Yeah.
so it's like getting to see you kind of come out of that. And I have noticed, like, because I engage with your social media, I see you all the time, and there has been a shift. You're not like this subservient, like, I don't know why, I just feel so sad. And then now you're like, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
Mhm,
Like, you love me or you hate me. I don't,
mhm.
either way, like, I'm not gonna bow to you. And
Well, and I will say, I think there's something in menopause that does that as well.
yeah.
That I was watching a speaker recently, and she said when you go through menopause, the veil lifts.
Mm,
And so all of these kind of fluffy hormones that, make you so accommodating and everything, a lot of that kind of lifts. And I was
mm,
like, it might be that as well. There
yeah,
might be a little bit of that, that I'm just less tolerant of BS now, because
yeah,
I just I've got enough going on in my body. Like, I don't
right.
need your stuff as well.
Right, I know. I'm, like, rolling hard into perimenopause, and I told my husband, I was like, "I feel like a completely different person. Like, I don't
Man.
give a shit about making other people comfortable anymore. I
Mhm.
don't want to deal with it. I don't wanna be around people that I don't wanna be around. Like, I have zero fucks to give when it comes to like, well, but
Yeah,
it's your family, or oh, but this person wants to see you. I'm like, I don't care. Like, in a nicer way, sort of, but like not really. It's like, why? Like, I don't, why should I have to keep spending time doing stuff I don't want to do? I've done it all of my life.
yeah.
Like, I'm hitting the back half and I want to do what I fucking want to do. Like,
Mhm,
if I don't want to quilt that quilt, I'm going to tell you no. If I want to, I'll say yes. If it
mhm.
takes me a longer time than you want, oh well, you engaged my services. And I mean, that's rude. I sound like I'm being such an asshole, but
There is there's freedom. It's a hard push. I went from being completely not even in perimenopause to full menopause because I had a full
oh,
hysterectomy 2 years ago.
okay.
So I kind of was came out of that operating theatre with a patch on me, and then that's all I had for a while, and it's only now I'm kind of sorting out my hormones and trying to get
Yeah.
everything and kind of really getting to grips with the fact that I'm in menopause, and actually a lot of these symptoms that I'm feeling, it's because of this and not
Yeah.
a lot else. But yeah, I think when you're dealing with that, it kind of leaves less tolerance for the other
Mhm.
stuff, and
Mhm.
so now, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Nah.
This is who I am
You
now.
don't need to be sorry. Like, I think more than anything, like society owes us more space as women to like deal with these changes and deal with then it's like there's so little out there, so little information, and there's so much conflicting information
Mm,
about what's the right path, what to do, how to deal with it. And
mm.
but every single woman goes through it, whether it's because
Yes.
you had a hysterectomy and it starts earlier than maybe it would have before, but or some people it just takes a long time. I mean, and my mom was like, oh, I was in full blown menopause right before I turned 50. And I was like, oh, like, I guess I have an early road ahead of me. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I'll deal with whatever I need to deal with. But I think it's also like I'm not crazy. Like my body's just changing so much. And like, but I
Mhm,
also think being able to be in a space where that can be accepted and that can be like seen as like, oh great, you're leveling up. Like, let's do this. Let's
mhm.
let's embrace this next chapter of whatever
Well,
this
and I
is.
think there's so much freedom in it. When I look at my life now, I love being a mother and I loved having tiny children and, raising my family and being able to stay home and do that. But this is the period of my life that, I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. They're living their own life,
Hmm.
6.5 days of the week. They really don't need me.
Yeah.
So this is the time that has allowed me to focus on quilts and opening up this passion that I've really been able to focus on. And yes, unfortunately, it corresponds with menopause at the time. So you have to do some relearning around that. I tell you one thing that really annoys me though, and this is very specific, like, I can't believe we even have gotten onto this subject. So women need testosterone a lot of the time when they're going through menopause.
Yeah.
And if men need testosterone, it's funded by the insurance companies. If women need it, it's not funded. How's that fair?
It's not. There's literally nothing about women's health in the medical system that is fair.
I know.
And it varies state by state, and it varies insurance company by insurance company,
Mhm.
and it's like, how is there's nothing fair about it.
No.
But, if it was a thing for men, if men were going through menopause, it'd be free.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
It would
be
be it would be researched to death.
yeah, and
There'd
it'd be
be
available on the
every
shelf.
available medication available.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think as women also, we just kinda get on with things, don't we?
right.
Pregnancy and birth and da 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 da, we do it because, and that's what this age has shown me as well, is how amazing women are. Like, that we do just roll with the punches and we do these things and, we I just we're warriors. We are.
Mhm.
I will completely embrace that now.
Yeah. Truly, truly. It's like we have to do so much more with so much less, and we still do it. We still get the
Mhm.
job done, and we do it 1,000 times better than mediocre Chads out there. Sorry if your name is Chad. Um, and then we're still like, "I don't know. Are you sure?" It's like, "Yes, I'm sure, bitch." Like, I have 3 degrees. I am a learned doctor at this point. That's not true, but, I mean, like, I'm a highly educated person, and I've spent thousands and thousands of hours on my craft, and yes, I
Mhm.
know what I'm talking about. You wanna question me? Go find somebody else. They're gonna tell you the same exact thing, and then you're
Mhm.
gonna be like, "Wow, that girl knew what she was talking about," and I'm gonna be like, "Told you so. You can't hire me." I'm coming across, like, so much sassier than I actually am, and, I'm not really sorry about it, but also, I'm really a lot nicer to deal with in person. Oh my god.
Well, I think you're nice both ways.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay, well, yeah, okay, now that we've, like, devolved into menopause, I think maybe, um, so we're going to reiterate that the website should be in its final fully
Mhm.
released phase around September,
Yes, hoping so.
possibly?
We're doing a big push at the moment, so
Okay.
my whole life is revolving around technology. I'm ready for this part to be over, honestly, because the technology side of things really kind of strips the joy from me. So when we're in a good stable position, I'm just gonna breathe a sigh of relief. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye out for that, but you can still people can still access it on
Yeah.
your on
Yeah,
pixelquilts.com and
it's
use it.
constantly available and you go through the whole process and upload your picture and play with everything and, you know, go through all the different color palettes and the fabric lines. You do that way before you ever think, "Okay, I wanna buy this pattern." So,
That's good.
just go
Yeah.
play. Just go
Yeah.
play. Mhm.
That's awesome. So you have plenty of opportunity to adjust things and get it exactly how you want it before
Mhm.
you even get close to clicking that purchase button, which is
Yes.
you don't
Yeah.
have to have buyer's remorse and be like, that's not quite what I wanted. Like
No.
you have free reign to make
Yeah.
changes until you're happy. That's awesome. I love that. So we'll send people there to pixelquilts.com to check that out.
Mhm.
And you're on Instagram at
Mhm.
pixelquilts.
Mhm. And
The
TikTok and
TikTok.
Facebook. I'm not like Facebook is linked to Instagram, so I'm kind of more on Instagram than I am anything else. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to link all your stuff in the show notes so that people can just
Okay.
click on one button and get to you.
Thank
And
you.
then, um, yeah. So as we're kind of wrapping up, like, do you have a tip or piece of advice that you would offer to the listeners?
Well, I think there's 2 pieces of advice that one is completely practical, and that is when I'm working on a pixel quilt, I only work on 1 quilt at a time because
Mm,
there's so many pieces, I can't, like, overlap it. So I literally work on 1 quilt until it's done, and then that's it. And then at the end of each pixel quilt, I will clean my room.
mm,
And it's like a restart, and it means that there's a blank space for, like, the blank slate for, like, the next pixel quilt. So that is something I'm fastidious about because I know how much better of a headspace I'm in when everything is clean and ready to go for the next one. But
yeah.
in terms of, like, a tip that I've learned over the years through life and through quilting, it's like, just stop being so hard on yourself, you know?
Yeah.
The best is the enemy of the good, and there's been so much of my life that I've put on hold or I haven't tried because I knew that when I started, I wasn't gonna be the best at it. And the
Yeah.
reality is like, you're not gonna be the best at it until you put thousands of hours into it. So just do it and
Mhm.
enjoy the process and stop beating yourself up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's like you have to start. You're going to be shitty at something until you're good at it.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is with no matter what it is. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you weren't born knowing how to read. You weren't fresh out of the womb sewing. Like you had to
Yeah.
start somewhere. So,
Mhm.
no, I love that. And it's a good reminder because I think, like you were saying, your mom is so hard on herself, and my mom is too. And it's like when I'm hard on myself, I'm hearing my mom's voice in my head, or like, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't ever think that way about her. Why would I think that way about me? I know she doesn't think that way
Exactly.
about me. Like, I think just reminding myself of that too is like,
Mhm.
no, you're good at this. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share your story and talking about all of this because you have such a great story and your quilts are gorgeous and deserve all the recognition in the world. And um I'm obsessed with them. I love them. I show them. I'm like, you guys, you need to follow. If you don't follow Pixel Quilt, like I show them your quilts and they're like, "What?" Even my kids were like, because you had given out stickers at QuiltCon, and I was like, "Hey guys, look at these." I'm like, "Here's Post Malone," because I love Posty, and I'm like, "Oh, and here's this, and here's my Angelou," and they were like, "What? These are quilts?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, they're quilts," and they were like, Would you ever make one like that?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but Dee does it,
Yay!
and she's really good at it." So it's been really fun to share with people and just get to see like their perspective change on quilting too when they see something so detailed made out of little squares and rectangles. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, of
We'll
course.
get our heads together about a project.
Yeah, I would love that so, so much.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, we're obviously going to stay in touch because we're besties, but um
Obviously.
we'll be looking forward to the final release of the website, and we're going to just keep track of your work because it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.